I'm, I'm really honored that you have decided to apply to Razia Hassan School of Architecture, and my job today, and I'm really very excited sharing this with you. Just to give you a very brief background, I have taught at three different universities and three different geographical zones on the planet Earth, and I studied in United States. Before that, Lahore, and but not architecture. That was government college and engineering and so on. But I think taking you through 3, 4 points, I want to just share with you what Razia Hassan School of Architecture really aims to do. और करते करते पढ़ाते पढ़ाते total almost just a little above 50 years of teaching, I have come to this conclusion that if we had to civilize a society, the best thing to start with is to make the people conscious कि architecture क्या है और इसकी कितनी subtle और not enforced किस्म का influence होता है. The people who live in Paris, they are called Parisians legally, but there's Paris in them. Not that I am advertising Paris, but people who grow up in Iran and certain cities like Shiraz, we know that they are very sensitive to the poetic expression. Similarly, if you go to Cairo and other places in the world, so the question is arisen, and the question is also very easy to answer. That you can recognize a human being's level of awakening to his or her own position on planet Earth by the kind of environment in which they have grown up, in which they have learned from other people what life is all about. And I think this growing up and learning from other people, इसमें बहुत मेजर रोल होता है उन चीज़ों का जिसको हम कहते हैं आर्किटेक्चर ही हम कहते हैं उसको भी. बाकी उनकी कैटेगरीज होती हैं. मसलन in New York, in certain areas, there are a number of steps. There is a more than half basement, and you have to climb up the steps. And sometimes, because of various technical situations. So every city has a flavor. Every city has different types of buildings. If you go to downtown Chicago, you find so little physically because the buildings are 100 stories tall, and you say, my God, where am I? And every sidewalk is full of new things to see in large windows. And if you put it all together, whatever I have shared with you up to this point, it all adds up to what architecture is. I can give you very quickly a few categories. I started with the house, because house actually makes you a member of a family. You're not aware when you're born that you are a member of that family. You need your milk, you need your feeding, you need your mother's fragrance and the mother's heartbeat, because you have been listening to that heartbeat in the internal architecture of your mother for a number of months. So now you're born and you're out there, and she lives in this house, and there's a special room prepared for you, and that's how architecture begins. And I think if you want to know the secret of Razia Hassan School of Architecture, not that we are going to make a nursery for you, but we are going to take you step by step by step until you become a critic who courageously and intelligently and with a lot of philosophical training and a lot of discretion about what architecture does for human beings, that you will be able to write books. And if not books, you will write articles. If not that, you will be on television discussing the new building or the new city hall or the new town hall. Or we spend too much time on television discussing politics which has no consequences, not because politics is useless. Politics, by the way, according to my personal view as the dean of this school, politics is an extremely important part of architecture. Not the kind of politics that we normally see on television, on ARY, but it's the kind of politics that is, we have a city, we have a province, we have a nation, we have neighbors, we have some friends, we have more enemies than friends, and we have to do business with them. And we have to send our students abroad, and we have to invite professors from abroad to teach in our colleges and schools. We read books in other languages. We don't just read, कि चौथी जमात का कायदा तो नहीं पढ़ने के बाद हम कहते कि ये हम आर्किटेक्ट बन गए हैं. So I think the whole idea, in a very short time, I can tell you that and you will hear this from me as and when you get a chance, or I get a chance to speak to you once you get admitted, that it is the most subtle, the most effective civilizing force that human beings find. That is why when architecture was not there, we were slaves of the pharaohs, because they built these huge pyramids and nobody knew when the pharaoh died and how many years, how many hundreds of years they died. So we were in the desert. When being in the city or being in the neighborhood or having neighbors and having streets and having little gardens and having markets and having ceremonial days in a year, Ramzan aa jata hai, Eid aa jati hai, the city changes. So I think these are the kind of things. It is not just doing a plan and going to a ठेकेदार and saying how much will it cost me to build it. It's essential part of architecture, but that's not what we are not pharmacists who are dispensing medicine. We don't do doctor's work. In fact, we look at the society and we say that the society needs shorter distances between the schools, between the age of 3 to 7. They don't have to sit in a bus and go 10 miles away to go to a school. So we are intensely linked with our city, and the city is nothing but accumulation of architecture. And if you are lucky, you will be born in a city where good architects would have designed a city that will teach you maybe more than what the teachers teach you. So I think with that brief commentary, I welcome you. I hope you do well in the tests, and I hope we'll see you again. Thank you very much.